Good afternoon and welcome to the second session in the Town and Parish Council training. I hope you were able to join us earlier today for session 1 and we'll also have session 3 tomorrow. So my name's Jennifer Rice and I'm the Communications Analyst for the Fund. So in this session we are going to be looking first at child-related leave. So what you need to tell us and when you need to tell us, and then we'll move on to the two options we have for members to buy extra pension and how that all works. And then we're going to hand over to Carl to do a little introduction to the Employer Hub. But first, I'm going to pass over to my colleague Emily. So Emily, if you want to take control at the top of the screen, you should be able to take over this one. I'll leave you in her hands here.
Can you see that I've taken that over? Does it tell you?
It has indeed.
Okay, so my name's Emily. I'm a senior pensions consultant on the customer and contact team. You may have spoken to me previously if you've emailed our inbox or phoned us. But so as Jen said, we're going to start off with child-related leave. So that is when, actually, why is that not moving? I apologise. This is my first one that I've done. Jen, sorry, how do I? There we go. So child-related leave, that can be maternity leave, paternity leave, adoption leave, shared parental leave, or bereavement leave. What you need to tell us as the employer, you need to tell us as soon as someone has gone on that leave. We can then start the process on our system. You can either do that through the Employer Hub if you use that, or you can email us to our normal the generic inbox that you send all your leaver forms and that sort of thing to, the pension inquiries one. When they come back from their maternity leave or paternity leave, generally in 12 months' time, you tell us the date it started and the date that it finished. We also need to know the dates of any paid and unpaid leave, the keeping in touch dates, the dates of those, and not just how many there are, and the shared parental leave in touch days. So we often get asked from the members, and I'm sure these are the questions that you get asked as well as the employer. What happens, I'm going on maternity leave, my pay is dropping from this to this, what happens to my pension, what happens to my contributions? All you need to do is you need to continue to tell them that their pension will grow at the normal rate, and therefore you need to tell us about their assumed pensionable pay. So that's the pay that they would have been earning had they stayed at the rate before the leave started. So for an ordinary maternity or adoption leave, that's the first 26 weeks of their leave. Then after that, you've got from 27 to 39. We need to know about that additional leave. And the APP also applies when they're in a receipt of pay, but it doesn't apply to any period of unpaid leave. So if they're on unpaid leave, you don't do the APP. Same as the paternity and parental bereavement leave will only apply if it is higher than the amount of pension pay they would have received in the period. So when someone comes back, they can elect to buy back their lost pension. We often hear queries regarding buying back lost service, because let's say they had 6 months unpaid leave and they want to buy back that lost 6 month service. They can't buy back service, but what they can buy back is that lost pension that they didn't accrue during that unpaid leave. So you need to calculate how much pay they've lost out on and advise that they can buy back this lost pension that's relating to that lost pay. If they choose to do that within 30 days of returning to work, they'll pay 1/3 of that, and you as the employer will pay 2/3 of the cost. There's a calculating application form that is available on the LGPS member website to find out the cost, and they can go on, complete and print out the application form. So the form, once they've filled in all their details of their name, date of birth, how much lost pension pay, that sort of thing, it will bring up this application form. They can see here how much pension they've lost from that lost pensionable pay and how much it's going to cost them to buy that back. If they're happy with that and they want to proceed, they just digitally sign the box, and then they need to send that to you guys. You will need to include all the information on the PN11 but I understand there's more about that in session 3. And then once you've actioned the member's request through the payroll, you then need to sign the form and send it to us, again, at that pension inquiries email address. We can then put that on the member's record, and it shows that they're buying back that lost pensionable pay, that lost pension, and we can keep track of that on their record. Similarly, members can do a APC. So this is where you can buy extra pension. They can buy up to £8,344 of additional pension through APCs, and that amount goes up every year. So last year it was 7,000 and something, and from April this year it's 8,344. Members can choose to do this through a one-off lump sum, which they pay us directly, or they can choose to have an X amount coming out of their pay every month. They have to do it in whole years. They can't say, I want to pay £100 a month for 6 months. It has to be, 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. It's an age dependent calculation as to how much it's going to cost. The older the member is, the more expensive it is going to be. So it's one of those things that you've got to start when you're 21, not 61. That you don't have to contribute to the APCs. The members can ask you to contribute to the APCs, and you should already have a discretions policy on this. Likewise, with the buying back lost pension, to buy extra pension, they go onto the LGPS member website. And again, there's a similar form they need to complete, and it will tell them how much it's going to cost them. Again, as you can see, the form looks very similar to the lost pension. They put in their name, their date of birth, their sex, or their age, and it will tell them how much it's going to cost them. They can do it two ways. They can either say, I want to pay £100 a month, and it will buy them £5,000 worth of pension, or they can say, I want to buy £5,000 worth of pension, and it will then tell them how much that's going to cost. Likewise, with the lost pension, you report that to us on your P11s and your monthly returns. The contracts run, like I say, for a set amount of years, and the member can decide how long they want to do that for. You must cease taking the contributions at that end of that contract. You can't continue it on. So if they have a contract for 2 years, and suddenly 4 years down the line, you realise they're still paying that £100 a month, we can't use those extra 2 years of £100 a month. They have to be refunded to the member, and it gets slightly difficult. So if the contract will have an end date, you must cease taking the contributions at that end date. And unlike the lost pension, where you send us the form, the member will send us their form, and then we then apply that to their record, and we will then tell you, and we'll send you a letter, generally on an email rather than an actual physical letter, and it will say, Mrs. Smith has elected to buy £1,000 worth of pension. This is going to cost her £100 a month for 5 years. You can agree to share the cost of an APC. So the member, again, if they want to pay £100 a month, you could have a discretions policy that says that you will pay 50% of that. So you pay 50% and she pays 50%. If that is the case, then you will need to the member will need to submit a letter with their application from you confirming that you will share the cost of that APC. We do occasionally get the forms in where the member has said that the employer is going to pay 100%. Then we're a bit like, is that sure? And then so we then query it, and often it comes back saying, no, the employer isn't going to pay. So we do need written confirmation from you guys if you are going to contribute towards the extra pension APCs. You can award the 8,344 annual pension to that member. It's going to cost a lot of money, but you can award the whole amount to the member. And likewise, you can award it if a member's been made redundant or efficiency reasons, but you must do that within 6 months of the member leaving their role. If it's after that, we wouldn't be able to accept it. And like I say, this is an employer discretion, and you should have a policy on all these things that you can, return back to. So APCs are where they're buying that set amount of pension. AVCs are where the member can pay into a stock market based fund. we've chosen Prudential and Standard Life as our AVC providers. So the AVC monies are paid over to the provider and not to the Essex Pension Fund. So if I wanted to invest with Prudential, I would pay £50 out of my salary and that would go off to Prudential. It doesn't come to us at all. Prudential will contact you directly to tell you to start taking the contributions, to stop them, to increase them, to decrease them. But we will contact you regarding any Standard Life AVCs. With AVCs, members can contribute their entire monthly salary, less any of the standard deductions they have to pay for tax, national insurance, LGPS contributions. You must include the AVC amounts in your P11 and your monthly return. You don't have to contribute towards an AVC, just like the APCs, you don't have to, unless it is what is known as a salary sacrifice shared cost AVCs. The member can ask you to do so, and once again, you should have a discretions policy regarding this. Unlike the APCs, where the member's going to know that they're going to get £5,000 worth of pension at the end of it, they are stock market based and they can go up and they can go down. So if a member's asking us any questions about AVCs, to us, and we can, although we can't give financial advice, we can give them all the information they need to make that informed decision about whether they want to go and contribute into a stock market based product, unlike their pension they currently pay into, which is secure. And I will now hand over to Carl for the Employer Hub section.
Thanks, Emily. Sharing my screen, Emily or Jen, I don't know if you can just confirm that you can see what my screen.
I can indeed.
Can see that. Yeah.
Excellent. So, hello and welcome to the Employer Hub section of the webinar. My name is Carl. I'm a senior staff on the support team, and I've been here for a very long time. And I'll be giving you an introduction to the Employer Portal and what it can do for you. First of all, what is it? It is a portal that employer staff can log into, and you can see your member data and manage your member data. For those who used the previous employer portal, please note that those logins are now defunct and invalid, and a new login will need to be created. To be able to get a new login, you need to complete a registration form. If you don't have a registration form, please email us on pensiononlinesupport@essex.gov.uk and we can send you a registration form and a user guide as well. And once we've got one of those forms, we will create what we call a super user login for you that has full access to the Employer Hub. And that will include a login, that's typical. Okay, so this is my test account, and this is what you'll see when you log into Employer Hub. At the top, you have a search bar. So if you wanted to search for a member, or if you have access to multiple employers, you can search here. Partial searches can be done as well. Try to have at least 3 characters in there. Apologies for the wait. As you can see, it says brought up a list of members and an employer, and you can click in to see some details. It's got the member basic information, so you can see if you wanted to have a look at what member data you've got, if you wanted to update a specific member. If you click on View Member History, you can see more detailed information on things like their service history. So if you wanted to check, if you needed to update their hours, and you can see what section of the scheme they're in, and see whether that needs to be updated or not. If you're done looking at member or employer data, you can click on the Essex Pension Fund logo to go back to the home screen. And if you actually wanted to amend some of that member's data, you go to Start a Process. Here's a list of all the processes that you can create. And unlike the previous portal where you'd find a member and create a process, this happens in the reverse. You create the process and then you select the member that you then wish to update. So as an example, we can do a change of hours. We search for the member, whether you're searching for a unique job identifier, a national insurance number, or a name. You can put that into the search. And it should return anyone who meets that criteria. Once you've selected the member, just double check that you've got the right person using the information there, and then hit submit. Now, generate a form asking what kind of hour change that you want to do. So we don't want to have a break in service for this particular one. And that submitted the form. What that has done is this, now that that form has been completed, it's taking us to the work feed section. There's currently, there shouldn't be anything to show on the work feed section because all the work feed section does is it shows any incomplete processes that you have. And I actually did one earlier today for testing purposes. Anything you have done that's incomplete will show up here and you can just click into it and start where you left off. But for new users, that should be empty. And that was that work feed there, that screen that you could see. But for most new users, that will be empty and it'll only show work that has not yet been completed. So that's how you'd go about updating things like service, address changes. Everything is that you can change on the members' details is listed in here and is completed in one of these processes. As I stated earlier, there is a user guide that goes through all of these processes in detail and what kind of information that these forms ask for if you need them. But most of the information that is requested here is also requested on the monthly return. And we normally request that you put that information on there if known. I believe there is a webinar on monthly returns tomorrow, so I'll leave that for Chris to go through tomorrow. If you want to create new logins, you can do so. So you can go to create new user. If you have a member of staff or a colleague that should also have access to the portal, we only create the initial super user when you submit a form. So if you have multiple users who need to be able to get onto the portal, it's then your responsibility to set them up. And you would do that by clicking on create new user, and then you'd search for the name of the employer that you wish to set them up on. Most employers only have access to one employer, but some will have access to multiple. So just make sure you've got the right name and reference number there. Hit submit, and then you'll be asked for some basic information. You hit submit, and it will create a new record with the access levels that you've selected. Once again, all of that information is on the registration form and the user guide about how to set up new users. There's also the ability to modify users should you have a user who either needs to have increased or decreased access levels. Back on the home screen now, one of the new things that you can do is you can see some reports. These are called SSRS reports. One of the useful things that you can see is you can get a list of members. You just click on the employer that you wish to show a list of members for. You can only view active memberships. Click on view report, and it will generate a report of your currently active memberships. And if you wanted to save this information out, you can do so. So click the drop down next to the save button, and then click on the format that you wish to export the data in. Excel is probably going to be the most used option there. It's downloaded, and you can then click on that download and it will open. In Excel, given enough time. There we go. Click on the logo at the top, that will go back to the menu. We can have a look at another report, another useful report we've got here is called the monthly returns template. Select your employer to run. This shows a list of all your active members, but it puts them in the layout and format of the monthly returns. And obviously it doesn't submit any of the pay information here. You'll have to complete that yourself before submitting, but at least it has all of your member data in the format and layout needed to submit this, and you can copy and paste this onto the monthly returns checker, and once again this can be saved out and exported for all those purposes. There's also a list of user logins. Employer. This should show you a list of all users who have access to this employer on the portal. So if you have an external payroll provider of X, and then you change to Y, and then you notice that X still, maybe we haven't been notified and X haven't been removed, you can just say X is no longer a payroll provider for us, and we will remove them. But this is a way of you having access to see who has access to your data, and then you can control that yourself, whether that's, and you can see the level of their access as well, from read-only, admin, authorizer, and super user. You have control as to what level of access that user has. So if we went back to start a process, then modify user. If one of those users on that list had only read-only access, you could come in here, put their username from that report, and then you could update their access to admin or authorization level, or vice versa. You could bring their access level down. Other useful things that you can do on here is that if you do submit a piece of work for a member, let's go to our search function again. And search for that member that we did a change of hours for. And click in the Documents tab on the left-hand side. Here you can see the form that I completed today, the change of hours, and if you click on that, it will open the form and give you all of the options that you chose when you submitted it to us to make those changes. So if you need that for audit purposes, or you just want to double check to see if you've submitted something so you don't duplicate work, then you can go in there and you can access that. All of the forms that you start a process for are created on the member records, and they can all be accessed and viewed and downloaded should you need to do so. There's also another list of members, but more detailed this time. Only those of super user or authorization levels can access this report. And it's got the same members on it. It's just got more information for those members, such as what are their hours, job titles, address information, and whether leaver forms have been submitted for them and are waiting to be processed. Those are the three main menus, and the last but not least is change my account. Here you can change your account details, and the first section is change my user details. As the form suggests, it lets you change your user details from email address, telephone number, personal details. It lets you change your name, and you can change your security question and answer. Change my password. Once you enter your existing password and new password, will let you change that. And delete my account. If you enter your password and submit this here, it will delete your login, as is your right to be forgotten. Once you do that and hit submit, it will automatically log you out of the system and you won't be able to log back in. So please only do that if you no longer need your login. That's everything I have for you for Employer Hub today. Hopefully that will be useful in helping you manage your member data. Once again, if you have any queries, please email pensiononlinesupport@essex.gov.uk, and we can answer those queries or send you any user for registration forms, user forms, or the guide if you need them. I'll hand back to Jen now.
Thanks, Carl. We had a couple of questions come in while you were talking. Would you be able to pop in the chat the website address for people to access the registration form? And could you just remind us where the user guide is on that main menu?
So I think the user guide itself isn't available on Employer Hub. We'll email that across. We're looking at getting it added on there. The user guide was created after it went live, which is why it's not currently on there. So I do apologise for that, but yeah, we can email a guide to you.
Lovely. So if anybody needs a copy of the user guide, the email address is pensiononlinesupport@essex.gov.uk. If you email the team and just let them know what you need, they'll get that sent over to you. So that's really handy. So as I said at the start, this session has been recorded and we're going to add it to our YouTube channel. Now you can find all our videos on our YouTube channel. You can either go directly to it, youtube.com/@Essex Pension Fund. Equally, you can just hop over to YouTube and search for Essex Pension Fund and it will pop straight up. But I will email a direct link once the videos from these training sessions are available to you. So it'll take you straight there. However, you can find loads of information about the fund on essexpensionfund.co.uk, and you can also use the national LGPS website, so lgpsmember.org. That's where you'll find those calculators for buying extra leave or buying back lost pension there. So have a little look in and see what you think. If you have any questions, of course, you don't need to wait for a training session. You can call us or email us. I put my main email in there, which is EPFEvents@essex.gov.uk. But if there's anything that I can't answer, I will just forward it on to the relevant team, so the Technical Hub employer team, or to Emily and her team in the main inbox. But you will definitely get a response, usually during working days, so Monday to Friday. Usually get a response in 24 hours, but at the worst it'll be 48 hours, but we can get back to you very quickly. So I hope we've answered all of your questions today. We do have another session tomorrow, and in that one we're going through monthly returns, the PN11, M99 and suspension notices. So that's going to be quite a full-on session there, but some really useful stuff. If, like me, you think of questions after the session, you can, of course, email us and we'll respond to you then. But if there's no other questions, then I will let everyone get back to their day and I will see you all tomorrow.